Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
So, we are here to review the prequel to Snowpiercer.
Not the prequel to Snowpiercer.
The prequel to Snowpiercer, that is Murder on the Orient Express. I am your benevolent host, Niall.
And I'm your malevolent host, Nolan.
And this is the new Fangled motion picture show. So, as is tradition, we will be doing a spoiler-free review bit. Tell you that we're going to be spoiling stuff. And then after that, go more in depth into it.
And we spoil stuff.
Yep, because this is a good old whodunit.
Mm-hmm.
So this is quite a bit to spoil, obviously. Yep. You know, it was based on a novel, right?
Yeah, but Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie, that's right. I never read the novel. I never saw the original movie.
There's been at least one.
Yeah, but I gotta say, this was a very entertaining movie.
Yeah.
Especially like going into it having no preconceived notions about the victim or, you know, why any of these passengers would want him dead. So I think that's probably the best way to go into any murder mystery.
Right. That like our father opted out of going to see it with us, because he usually goes to see movies with us a lot. He opted out of going to see it because he'd seen the original. He knew the story, and he's just like...
He'd seen the original, and he's read the book.
Yeah. So he decided...
It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it, because he knows what's going to happen, so
yeah.
What entertainment value is there in that?
Well, the entertainment value is the amazing dialogue.
I thought you were going to say Poirot's mustache.
Poirot's mustache was pretty great, but Hercule Poirot...
Hercule Poirot. See, I told you.
Stop.
I basically know French.
You just insulted every French person. Anyway, the dialogue in this movie was fantastic.
Yeah.
Which I love movies that have that excellent, like, witty dialogue, like Guy Ritchie movies always have, you know? This was definitely one of those movies. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to go really into this movie without spoiling anything.
I will say that the first act is dramatically different than the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, everything shifts once the murder happens, which makes sense.
Yeah, but, like, the first act is very humorous, actually. A lot of really funny stuff. It's very lighthearted and everything, and then once the murder happens, it's just like serious, and there's little to nothing of any humor after that.
But I mean, like I said, though, it makes sense because it's like everything's all great and cheerful. Everyone's just on a train on their way to France from Istanbul, and
not Constantinople.
And then a murder happens, so of course, like, it's gonna be a very sobering event. But, you know, but yeah, just like in the first act, well, throughout the whole movie, there's a lot of like witty dialogue, well written, like back and forth between characters. But in the first act, in particular, a lot of it's really funny. The sort of banter between characters. Willem Dafoe, he plays like the most Austrian character you'll ever see in a movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good in it.
I don't want to spoil it. I'll talk about it in the spoiler part, but he has a particular line that was just like, that is the most Austrian thing I have ever heard in my life. But yeah, no, I'll get into in the spoiler part. But yeah, I mean, the movie's very entertaining. You know, for us, because neither of us had seen the original movie or read the book. So for us, trying to figure out whodunit going through and like finding little discrepancies in people's stories and stuff, it's very satisfying when like the movie confirms those sort of discrepancies and stuff. But I recommend seeing it. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would see that.
Yeah, because Let's see. Also, I will say that Johnny Depp being a supporting actor in an ensemble cast movie is the appropriate amount of Johnny Depp these days.
Yeah. So the movie is getting sort of average, middling reviews. Looking at just a glance at the reviews on IMDb, it looks like people's problems with it, they're kind of like, what's the point? I saw the original, and this didn't change anything. Like, well, okay, but that's not for you. It's still like a new generation, who maybe doesn't see a lot of older movies.
Just because this movie was done previously 50 years ago or whatever, doesn't make it a bad movie.
It was made in the 70s.
70, yeah, so almost 50 years ago, 40 years ago now. Just because there's a decades-old other version of this movie does not make something a bad movie. In fact, this probably improved on that movie because movie-making processes have improved over time. I will
say, though, the train is clearly CG and it looks it.
Yeah.
It's certain parts especially. You didn't actually see the exterior of the train all that much, but when it was driving along through these mountain passes and stuff, it was clearly CG.
Yeah. One thing that did bother me about the train, though, is it's a long journey to be paid for by a dozen people, basically. There's only 4 cars in the train. Now, it is like the dead of winter, so it could be there's just not a lot of passengers going from Istanbul to France. I believe that was actually pointed out as an oddity, right? Which is how many people were traveling that route.
Maybe. But then his friend said, if anyone can get you a spot on a train to Paris in the dead of winter, I can. Like, that's an that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the train should have been longer. Because it just seems like a very expensive undertaking to run a train from Istanbul to France through mountains and stuff like that. For only a dozen passengers and whatever luggage cargo they were carrying. So, that being said, I do recommend going and seeing the movie, regardless of the fact that there is another version of this movie out there. So,
yeah.
See it.
Spoiler review or spoiler warning?
Yeah, spoiler warning. So, Willem Dafoe is a line that's something along the lines of like, because he's playing an Austrian professor of engineering, which might be about the most Austrian and Germanic profession a person can have. And he's supposed to be on his way to these talks in France, I guess.
Yeah.
Some engineering conference or something. And he mentions that without the representation of the Austrians, the talks will be subpar.
Yeah.
And I can confirm, Germans, like Germanic people, so Germans, Austrians, Swiss, they're all very proud of their engineering prowess, and they all believe themselves to be the best in the world at engineering. So, like, and they're not afraid to say as much. So, Willem Dafoe's line about that just made me laugh. It was a very funny and very, like, in-character thing for him to be saying.
Yeah. That being said, Willem Dafoe his character's not actually Austrian.
You're right.
He's American.
He's a Pinkerton.
Yeah, not Piccadilly.
Piccadilly's an Arsenal place. Pinkerton. He's a Pinkerton detective.
Yep. Posing as an Austrian undercover.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he based it off of this
butcher,
German butcher. It was in his neighborhood. He's like, based off a crowd butcher, my neighborhood growing up. Great accent.
Yeah, he is found out by Hercule though because he says a word wrong.
Yeah, he mispronounces what was it? It was the name of a city, right?
Think so? I don't remember.
Turin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It should be Turin, and he pronounced it Turing.
Yeah, he stressed the wrong part of the word. he said something like he did not pronounce it in a way that a proud proper tutor would, something like that.
Right, because it was like he said it was like that's where he was from or something, so he wouldn't have mispronounced the name if he was actually from there. But yeah, and it was funny. He had made some racist comments earlier when in character, but he was saying, "Yeah, sorry about the colored comments. I don't really mean them. In fact, I'm half he myself."
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, all the acting in this movie was really great, but it's all like established good actors playing this ensemble cast for the most part.
Like Daisy Ridley's fairly new. I mean, she's been on and stuff, but
yeah,
and she's not a bad actress by any means. But she's not like doesn't have like as much of a career as the rest of the actors have.
But yeah, for the most part, like all the acting in the movie was great. I really liked Hercule's friend who owns the train. Or
I think his uncle owns the train or something, or his father or something owns the train.
Forget the character's name.
Yeah. Who was that actor?
Yeah, you were trying to figure out who it was, right?
Yeah. Let's see. It's... Book. Yeah, I think it was... His name was like Book or something like that. This guy, Tom Bateman. Yeah, that's him.
I'm trying to find... It's in order of appearance on IMDb, which is annoying.
And so is the character just in front of prostitute? That has to be him, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at... he was in another movie with Judi Dench. Well, haven't seen him in anything. I've not seen anything else he's done. He just has one of those faces, I guess.
Like the beginning with the rabbi, the priest, and the imam.
Yeah. In the beginning, some jewel or something was stolen, and the suspects were a rabbi, a priest, and an imam. And he lines them up, and I was like, "Oh, this joke's gonna be good." And then, like, Hercule walks up, he says, "A rabbi, a priest, and an imam," like the old joke.
Right.
Although I don't think an imam would ever walk into a bar.
Probably not. But yeah, so I mean, everyone.
Oh yeah, everyone did.
Everyone done it.
By the way, every single person on the train, other than the victim and Hercule and his friend.
Yeah, I mean, it starts becoming kind of apparent that something like that's gonna happen when, like, halfway through interviewing everyone, you realize everyone is connected to the victim. Like, everyone has a reason to hate the victim.
Yeah.
Like, that's for 12 random Europeans writing from Istanbul.
And one American. Well,
one American. But, like, 12 random Europeans and one American writing from Istanbul to France, who all happen to be connected to each other.
Technically 2 Americans, once we find out that Willem Dafoe is...
Oh, yeah.
is actually an American.
Right, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
right.
Something's got to be up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So... wow, you're right. That guy is... Like, not only have we not seen him in anything, he's hardly done anything.
Yeah.
This Tom Bateman guy?
Yeah. Oh, there was just something familiar about his face when I saw him.
Yeah.
I think I know that guy. No, I know him, but I've seen him in something. Turns out I hadn't. Anyway, yeah, it was kind of like got me thinking about the movie Clue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more we can say.
Yeah. Like, after watching a few episodes of the train wreck that is Death Note, watching a mystery movie where, like, the deductions aren't gigantic leaps and like follow like a clear logical path is very refreshing.
Oh, do they make leaps of logic? And
Oh man, it is.
I've not watched any Death Note myself.
It is just like it's like on the level of the old blaxploitation movies.
Like, well, it's on the level of at least Black Dynamite.
Right. Well, Black Dynamite had that sequence because that's the kind of things that happen in a lot of those old movies.
Right, I know.
But yeah, it's bad. I'll tell you about it some other time. Don't want to go on too much of a tangent about it, but yeah, like his inspection, like his deductions and stuff. They make sense and are believable.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, he's this brilliant detective, but they don't like have these crazy leaps where it's like, you know, it's in some movies you'll see it's like this gigantic leap of logic that makes no sense. No person would actually make that assumption or that connection, but they make the character make that connection to try to make him seem brilliant because, like, oh, you didn't think of it. He's a genius.
Yeah, well, it's more like he's like Columbo in that way, because sometimes you see these movies where they notice some small thing, but it's something no one could ever see because it's like this tiny little fiber, like thread sticking off their sleeve, and no one would notice that.
Yeah.
But Hercule notices things that if you're paying attention, you might actually notice.
Yeah.
But nothing that's like microscopic stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think like the smallest detail he picks up on might be like the pipe cleaner on the floor.
Well, no, I mean, there's a big long pipe cleaner lying there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fairly. I mean, compared to like the gun he finds under the pillow and stuff like that.
Right. No, I think the smallest thing might be when he noticed the chalk dust on the governess's sleeve.
Yeah. That and the obviously him smelling the bourbon on the sleeve of the uniform shirt. Obviously, that's something that we're not gonna we can't pick up on.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, like it was nice because just like all the deduction is believable.
Oh,
but
I want to bring one thing up that I don't know if it was a mistake or we're just because we're not aware of like timing within the movie, if we're seeing this as a plot hole or like a loose thread or something.
Oh, right.
Is the coffee thing.
Yeah, so the victim, Johnny Depp's character, so his butler got him coffee, which had a drug in it. I don't remember what the drug was.
No, I don't remember what it was either.
But it had a drug in it. And so, you know, Hercule comes and asks him, is interrogating him, and he's asking about the coffee, because, you know, you went and got the coffee, you could have slipped the drug in it. And he's like, where did you acquire the coffee? He said, after dinner, I asked for it to be ready at 9, and I went and got it. But he mentions that it's unlike the victim to drink coffee at night.
And he specifically asked him to go get him a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and in his flashback, he specifically asks him to go get him coffee. So that was
right. And I expected, we were thinking the whole time like, the butler did it. Turned out, well, yes, but so did 11 other people. But we were expecting Hercule to point out like, well, why would at some point like, why would you have coffee pre-made if he doesn't ask for coffee in the evening? And this is like the only time he's ever done that. You know, that I don't know if that was a loose thread that they accidentally wrote in, or we're not understanding actually what time everything happened. Maybe he meant like, I asked for it to be ready at 9, and like when the guy had asked for it, it was like 8:15 or 8:30 or something, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, they eat dinner much later in Europe than they do in America, so it could have been like 8 o'clock they ate dinner, then he asked for it at 8:30, and got it at 9.
Yeah, it could be something like that. But that stuck out to me just because that wasn't addressed. And maybe it doesn't need to be. Maybe just because we don't know when things actually happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be, but yeah. It was an odd thing. So I don't know. I guess we're done.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. Go see the movie. It was very entertaining.
Yep.
I mean, our recommendations on whether or not to go see a movies always should be taken with a little bit of grain of salt, because we will find an excuse to go to the movies. We just like going to the movie theater. There's times when we're like, this movie looks like garbage. Yeah, but it's the only thing playing this week. All right, we'll go.
Yeah.
But this movie was very entertaining, worth the price of admission. So next week. Oh, you ready for this, Nolan?
Oh yeah.
This
Justice
dumpster
League.
fire of a movie coming up that is Justice League.
I'm gonna call it now. Not as good a superhero movie as Thor.
I'm gonna call it now. Jason Momoa is gonna be the only enjoyable part of that movie.
Yeah. Also, I'm gonna figure also not as good as Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
which is a surprisingly good movie.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to say it's a surprisingly good movie, because it's just that all the previous movies in this Justice League shared universe have been bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, this doesn't look great. But you got to see it.
Yep. Yep. And then after that is Coco and Darkest Hour on the same week.
Ooh.
I'm much more excited about Darkest Hour than I am about Coco.
Yeah, I'm not particularly excited about Coco.
Yep. And see, that's the week of Thanksgiving, right? Coco? Yeah, that's in a couple weeks.
Yep.
And then after that is The Disaster Artist.
Yes. You should read that book before.
I don't have time to read a book.
Listen to the audiobook.
Between now and the end. Listening to other audiobooks, though. And then I think we take a break before Star Wars. Because, as, with what happened last year, there's,
Nobody wants to be on either side of Star Wars.
Yeah, nothing really important straddles Star Wars, so there might be a bit of a gap in there.
I think Jumanji's the week after.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what we got coming up. We've been kind of not streaming the last couple weeks.
We've been busy on Sundays.
Yeah, we have been. So hopefully tomorrow. Wait, is this going up tonight or tomorrow? This is probably going up tomorrow, right?
Probably tomorrow.
Yes, hopefully tonight we'll be streaming over on the Twitch again. Gotta figure out what we're streaming though. So, and then again next weekend we'll be back with our review of Justice League. Oh boy. It's over 2 hours long.
I don't know if I can handle that much.
Jeez.
Oh, Zack Snyder's directing it too?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to Justice League.
That's
I
fair.
didn't really care enough to care who directed it.
That's fair. So, yeah, we're gonna torture ourselves for the benefit of other people. We're gonna torture ourselves just to come back and tell you not to see it. That's my prediction right now.
We see Roman J.S. Israel Esquire.
Yeah. Fun time.
Alright.
That's got Denzel Washington and looks like a much better movie than Justice League, so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's what we got coming up. So
Just saying Miles Dyson needs to stop making robots.
Yeah. Anyway, so
maybe this one will be a hero instead of a
thanks
menace.
Thanks for listening / watching. Probably just listening. I doubt you're just sitting there staring at the slideshow of pictures from the movie.
I work hard on those slideshows.
No, you don't. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for a review of Justice League. And so until then, bye-bye.
Bye.